Hey, welcome everybody, and welcome everybody here at JPL, and welcome to all of you online for coming to this event. We're here at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in wonderful Pasadena, California, on a beautiful pre-fall day to celebrate the life of our friend, Dr. Firooz Naderei. Dr. Naderei was of course, worked here for many, many years before his retirement and ultimate passing just a few months ago. And we'd like to just take a moment, use this as an opportunity to bring together and remind ourselves about what he did for us and what a great life he had. He was a remarkable individual. I was extraordinarily privileged to be his chief engineer in the Mars program that was really going hot and heavy. I recognize some of my friends here from those days. It was a crazy time, but I have to admit, working for Firooz was really an important moment in my career because he taught me to think about engineering differently. I've done engineering for many decades before I worked with him, but he taught me, and he taught all of us, to think about this as a little bit differently than just making spacecraft, missions, and robots and rovers, and sending them to space, and then bringing science results. But he taught us something else. He taught us about how to think about it from a deeply humanistic perspective. And he did it very subtly because, as all of you remember, he was a very elegant human being, both in his style, his speech, his disciplined reasoning, but more importantly to me is that he knew how to project. He brought something that many of us engineers completely lack, kind of this form of emotional intelligence, I guess, that we have a responsibility to communicate more deeply than just through pictures from Mars and equations, but to actually communicate a sense, a feeling about what we're doing and why we're doing it. And he had that ability to do that all the way down to the font, right, Maureen? Yes. And he cared about how a room presented itself. He cared about how the chairs were arranged. He cared about what color the background of the slides were. Now, you say, well, this is just frivolous stuff as an engineer. Yes, so we say to ourselves. But no, if you look carefully what he did, he changed how we felt about it. Not just us, but to our customers at headquarters, the public, Congress, the world. And he projected a sense of elegance, not just to about himself, but to the work that we did as a whole. And I have to say, I have appreciated that. I still fail to be perfectly elegant myself, but I can tell you, I deeply appreciate it. I'm all the way to the point where, to the sense of bringing a strong sense of design in the work we do. Visual, how to project ourselves, and how to think about engineering, how to think about us, and how to communicate it elegantly and eloquently. And that was something that he was a master at, and not to mention his humanity. His humanity was extraordinary, and he reached out to people. He was an incredibly curious human being. I don't know how many hours people like me, Hoppy, Mark Adler, other people would spend with him going over equations, rocket equations, and entry, descent, and landing algorithms. It's amazing, and he loved that stuff. Well, today you'll hear some more stories from people close to him, his colleagues and his family. And so today we're going to have a series of short talks. The first one from none other than our very own director of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, current director of JPL, Dr. Lori Leshin. Lori, would you like to say a few words?
Thanks so much, Rob, and it's wonderful to see everyone here, and greetings to those watching online. I'm honored to speak today as we pay tribute to the monumental impact that Firooz had on JPL, on our planet, and beyond. While I serve as our director today, in truth, I've known, and it's only been a short time that I've been in that role. I like you refer to me as the current director. That's true. By tomorrow, who knows? But sometimes I call my husband my current husband. So, that's sort of what it triggered for me. Anyway, I've only been here a short time as a JPLer, but in truth, I've known Firooz for about 25 years. Since I was just a quite young scientist. And like with so many of you, he really influenced me greatly as a collaborator, as a mentor, and as a friend. And I know he's done that for so many of you as well. And so we really appreciate you being here. I had the opportunity also to speak at his memorial service several weeks ago. And so I'm going to share with you some of the thoughts that I shared there as well. Curious, passionate, mentor. These three words describe a man who lived a remarkable life and left an indelible mark on countless people and on the fields of space exploration and science. He was always curious. I love that you started with that and we did not coordinate. He was always exploring new ideas with an attitude that said, why not? When you were working with Firooz, anything seemed not just possible, but likely. Yeah, this crazy idea, we're going to definitely do this, yes. And not just likely, but impactful and important. It's curiosity that led Firooz to a prolific career that spanned over 3 decades here at JPL, where he gained a broad knowledge base, thank you to that curiosity, and rose through the ranks. In his early days at JPL, he was involved in designing large satellite-based systems, and he managed the NASA Scatterometer project. He led the ambitious Origins program, which is the ultimate expression of curiosity, if you think about it, searching for life beyond Earth in other planetary systems. It's really because of Firooz's work that our robust exoplanet exploration program exists today. It's also curiosity that led Firooz to step into the Mars program manager role, where, as we've already heard, he transformed the program. That came at a tough time after a couple of very difficult failures. It was a true challenging time for JPL. In the summer of 2000, he led the team that redesigned the Mars program and rooted it in a series of missions that were technologically, operationally, and scientifically connected, built on what came before and contributing to what came after. This led to 8 successful missions to Mars in a row, including the Mars Odyssey spacecraft, still going and collecting valuable data today, and the landings of Spirit and Opportunity in 2004, MRO, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, in 2006. For his management of the Mars program, he was awarded the agency's highest honor, the NASA Distinguished Service Medal. But more importantly, his approach helped build the foundation for a sustained exploration of Mars that has been a core accomplishment of this laboratory and of NASA and of humanity over the last quarter century, and which places us firmly on the precipice of being able to answer that most profound scientific question, that most profound question that curious people can ask: are we alone in the universe? And if that wasn't already impressive enough, he was then appointed JPL's first associate director for project formulation and strategy, and created our Innovation Foundry, an internal startup ecosystem akin to accelerators in Silicon Valley. Throughout his career, Firooz prioritized learning and experiencing new things. He constantly challenged and bettered himself, as well as those around him. His leadership and innovative thinking redefined our understanding of Mars and reignited our curiosity about the mysteries of the universe. His work will inspire future generations of scientists, engineers, and technologists who will continue to shape space exploration for many generations to come. That's a profound legacy that Firooz built and leaves with us. The second word I would use to describe him is passionate. From building a prolific career in space exploration to mentoring and influencing the lives of young people, to standing up against injustice and being an outspoken advocate for human rights and democracy in Iran, Firooz's passion shone through in all he did. He never did anything halfway, and you all know that better than most. If he was in, he was all in, and we were all better for that. And of course, if you happen to have a different point of view than Firooz, you could be the recipient of a passionate argument for what he believed in. I will admit to having been on the other side of that a few times myself. But he was driven by his passion and curiosity, and as a result, he had a life of meaning and purpose and impact. Mentor, the third word I would use to describe Firooz, is probably the word that I have heard most from others over these past few months. People from all parts of JPL have reached out to tell me about Firooz's influence on them and support of them in their careers and their lives. Scientists, engineers, strategists, managers, administrative assistants, all shared with me the impact that Firooz had on them as a caring mentor and advocate. The bottom line is this: Firooz led a life focused on others. Behind all of his professional accolades and lasting contributions to space exploration is an extraordinary person whose impact is visible on so many people in this room and online today. He understood that nurturing the next generation was just as important as anything any of us can accomplish ourselves. He was generous with his time and had a passion for mentoring young scientists, engineers, and technologists. His life inspired and will continue to inspire young Iranians and Americans to pursue STEM careers, which of course is necessary for the future of our planet. He was a brilliant mentor at JPL who invested in many of our people who are today leading our space exploration missions and enterprise. His wisdom and influence will continue to permeate the lab for decades to come. And I'll have more to say about Firooz's role as a mentor a bit later in our program. And so, as we say fond farewell to our dear friend Firooz, may his life and legacy continue to inspire us to always stay curious. May we approach our work and our lives with passion, as he did. And may we look to uplifting others through advocacy and mentorship. Firooz left us many lessons. JPL has learned and benefited greatly from his leadership. And as we continue to push the boundaries of knowledge, innovation, and exploration, we will do so knowing that Firooz's impact at JPL was extraordinary. He will be very deeply missed, but he will never be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Leshin. That was fantastic. What a legacy. Oh my gosh. I'd like now to introduce the former current director of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Professor and electrical engineer and planetary science at Caltech, as well as a longtime dear friend of Dr. Firooz Naderei, Dr. Charles Alachi.
Thank you, Rob. And good afternoon, everybody. Even that Firooz is not with us today physically, but he has left great memory for all of us. I got to know Firooz well about 30 years ago when he joined my organization at that time as a project manager. And very quickly I realized that not only he's a great technical and management talent, but also he was an excellent strategic thinker and a great mentor. So when in the late 90s, when we had a couple of setbacks in our Mars program, I remember we were sitting in the executive council thinking, okay, how do we get back on our feet and lay out a new program or a new roadmap for the Mars program? So I suggested Firooz, and immediately everybody said, yep, that's the right person. So Firooz, working with a number of you here, I know with Pete Tysinger and many of you here, worked and developed a roadmap, and they went to headquarters to present it to the senior management at headquarters. I remember that event very well. Dan Golden was the administrator at that time, and they presented to him a rover and an orbiter. So at the end of it, calmly, that's not a good description of Dan Golden, but calmly, he said, look, I want really to have the rover, but how about if we do two of them? Well, everybody was taken aback, except Firooz. Firooz said, okay, we'll come back in 2 days and give you a plan for two rovers. And that's what led to Spirit and Opportunity, to have two of them. Shortly after that, when I became director, I called Firooz in and said, okay, Firooz, now you sold these 2 rovers to be done in 4 years. How about if I'll put you in charge, with Pete Tysinger as a project manager and you as a program manager to actually make that happen. And of course, he was delighted to do that. And the rest, all of you remember what a great success, that was, and really uplifted lots of people, both here at NASA and in the nation. And then after Spirit and Opportunity, like Lori said, Firooz moved from a number of very key positions, around the lab, from associate director to in-charge director for the planetary mission. He had the major impact on the Origin program that now we're still, doing about looking at extrasolar system. But one thing I really appreciated about Firooz, in addition to all of these great things that he has done and Lori described, is his high level of integrity and candidness. Firooz used to say things the way he thought about them, not the way people want to hear about them. But he really believed, and he was always very candid, gave his opinion with rationale why that's the right approach. So I remember regularly he and I used to get together for lunch, and we used to chat about different things and how things are progressing. And always at the end, he said, Charles, I have some advice for you. Always, he had some advice for me. And he always used to tell me about a few things that I can do better in my job, to make. But he used to say them both, with candor, but also he was always very funny about it, very humorous about it. So I have no doubt that now he's up there sitting down and telling God how to do his job, better to run the heavens. So, dear Firooz, thank you for all what you have done, and particularly thank you for your friendship. God bless you and rest in peace. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you, Dr. Arlacchi. That was very heartfelt, and I feel the same way. And I have to admit, his way of thinking was so unusual and so strategic and so human. I'd like to introduce the next speaker. Firooz's grandniece is here, and her name is Lily Amarjavadi, excuse me, and she's a longtime family member, and would love to say a few words about her grand uncle. Is that right? Great uncle. Wow.
Hi, I'm Lily. Like I said, I am Firooz's niece, and before I begin, I'd really just like to thank JPL, and in particular, Dr. Leshin, for showing such tremendous support for our family during these past few months. My uncle was a huge part of my life, and I'm sure that many of you feel the same way. Though unlike many of the people in this room, my relationship was very different. You see, while to most of you he was a mentor or perhaps a colleague, to me he was simply my uncle. And while this is a great loss to the scientific community, it is even more so a greater loss to those lucky enough to call him family. The day of his passing, some of my friends, they came over to keep me company, and they asked me about my relationship with my Uncle Firooz and about the times that we spent together. And as I was talking to them, I found myself repeating the exact same sentence, which was, he was a really cool dude, and which is incredibly poetic, thank you. But I'm sure many of you can agree with me. He was a really, really cool guy. And throughout that conversation with my friends, I tried explaining how while he was famous and he was revered as a public figure and as a scientist, he was also really awesome to me in some more mundane ways, as just my uncle. And so Took me a while to figure out that Uncle Firooz was famous, probably longer than I'd care to admit. So the twin rovers landed when I was a toddler, and I remember seeing recordings of the launch some years later, which was the first time that I saw him on TV. And I remember I was watching, I was thinking, what is he doing there? I figured it must have been really just coincidental that the cameras had landed on him. I thought that he just happened to be in the shot. It was cool. But it was a really big day. I think we can all agree, for all of us. For the public and for JPL scientists, that day signified a successful Mars landing, but for me, I got to brag to everyone at school that my uncle was on TV. And when I was watching the launch, something even more incredible happened. So when the mission control room confirms that the rover has landed successfully, the room breaks out into chaos and cheers, and in the corner of the frame, you can see my Uncle Firooz start to cry. And I was really confused because out of all the people cheering, I wondered what had made him so upset. And so that was the first time I found out that human beings can cry from happiness. And I think for a 4- or 5-year-old kid, that's a pretty big discovery. So as I grew older, I began to appreciate his knowledge and his advice, even though, like him, I sometimes was really too stubborn to admit that I was in need of any. I was always excited to talk to Uncle Firooz about what I was working on in college and what my future plans were. I loved talking to him about my academic or my intellectual interests, and even if he didn't know much about the topic itself, he would listen to me ramble on and on about whatever obscure topic I wanted, and occasionally I would learn to shut up and actually listen to him. It shouldn't come as a surprise that he played a huge role in my journey to graduate school. When I was picking between UCSD and an offer from his alma mater, Viterbi at USC, he was the first one to help me with my decision. He was diligently researching each program, and he compared every imaginable aspect of each school. And he even took me on a tour of USC, and that was the last day that I spent with him. And in some way, I think it really was the perfect day. And I know that I'll always look back on it very fondly. And I'm so grateful that I got to spend it with him. I started graduate school at UC San Diego 3 months ago, and I really wish that I could tell him about it. So it's gonna take me a while to get used to not seeing him anymore. But that doesn't mean that he's absent from my life. I'll carry my memories with him forever and all the lessons that he taught me along the way. I'll think of him every time I see a jar of hot sauce in the pantry. I'll think of him whenever I walk past the room he stayed in at my parents' house when he briefly lived with us. And perhaps most importantly, I'll think of him every time I sit at our dinner table, as his place was always next to me. So yes, while I will miss him immensely, I like to think that he's with us all in the ways that, although may feel small, will always have a really big place in our hearts and our lives. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Lily. It was wonderful, and I kind of think he's kind of our uncle too. You know, you have to share him with us because he was a mentor to all of us, and someone we looked up to. Actually, let's stop for a moment. We have a couple more speakers, but before we go to the speakers, let's see what Firooz had to say in his own words. We have a little video. Can we run the video now?
Hello, I'm Firooz Naderei. I'm the Director of Solar System Exploration here at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. I have a sort of a natural academic curiosity, so the fondest time on a project or on any job is when I'm trusted into a job where I don't understand it. And I have to learn so that I can communicate with the others. That's when I enjoy the job very much. One thing about JPL is the generosity of the people. In some organization, I understand information is power. You withhold it, you use it to get ahead, and as a competitive edge within the organization. JPL is not that at all. Just before I came over 10 minutes ago, I went to my email to check what the whether we had any good words from headquarters as to what's going to happen to MER, and I can tell you that you're good to go for 250 sols, and you're good to go at the funding level that the team requested. So congratulations and happy extended mission. I was originally from Iran, from the Middle East. And like most people from that ancient region, when I think about human accomplishments, I think about them in historical terms. I think to myself, what is it that we could do that's grand enough, that's noble enough, that will echo through centuries? And then if you stand back a millennium or two from now, look back to our time, how would people think about us, judge us, remember us? What is it that would last through times and would in essence be the signature of our civilization, those of us who live in this century now?
Yeah, I miss him. Our next speaker is Puriya Abbasi. And Puriya is currently serves as CAO for Associated Students UCLA and has been a friend of Dr. Naderei for over 2 decades. He will speak of his legacy and contributions to the Iranian American community. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Before I start, I just wanted to, on behalf of our Iranian American community and Iranian diaspora, thank JPL for making today happen. It means a great deal to us. My name is Puriya Abbasi. I've been privileged to be Dr. Naderei's friend for over 2 decades. While today's distinguished gathering of scientists, engineers, friends, and loved ones is at a place where Dr. Naderei's legacy, contribution, and accomplishments in science reached its pinnacle and will live forever, I would like to take a moment and share with you as to the unparalleled mark that Dr. Naderei has left on our Iranian American community. During much of our friendship, we served together on the board of PAIA, the Public Affairs Alliance of Iranian Americans. Dr. Naderei was a founding member of PAIA. It's a national organization focused on protecting and advancing the rights and interests of Iranian Americans. A priority within that context was presenting the accomplishments of Iranian Americans of all walks of life with the specific goal of providing the younger generation with role models to emulate and encouragements to dream and to achieve. I experienced firsthand Dr. Naderei's focus on developing a platform where the many individual achievements of Iranian Americans could coalesce as a force to empower our youth and our community. You see, up to early 2000s, while our community prided itself in terms of the unprecedented success of so many in science, academia, business, technology, media, and on, including the key contributions of our scientists in space exploration here, we had not been able to gather around a common cause to appropriately leverage these successes. It was Dr. Naderei, especially following his elevated status and profile here, after the Mars exploration program, who identified that common cause to be the nurturing of the young Iranian Americans through providing them with ample instances to be proud of who they are and what they can accomplish. Through PAIA, he helped launch a series of events across the United States called Passing the Torch of Success. These events would bring together Iranian American leaders in a wide array of industries to share their stories and how they overcame challenges that are faced by every immigrant. The audience were mostly Iranian American high school students and university students who could now see that those that looked like them, who had the same uncommon names and sometimes accents, had been able to accomplish so much. The energy in those settings was unbelievable. And the outcome of those gatherings was that hundreds upon hundreds of our youth were even more convinced of the limitless possibilities and opportunities ahead. Dr. Naderei continued this vision and work through taking time to meet with Iranian American leaders across the country to remind all of us that the true reflection of success is not only conquering the peaks of financial, scientific, technological, or artistic endeavors, but more importantly, our true mark is how we use our credibility, our influence, our successes in making the lives of others better. That reaching a goal, accomplishing an objective, or realizing a dream is not good enough by itself. It is really the value that those achievements bring to the life of others that really matters. When Dr. Naderei spoke, we all listened as he spoke with great humility, credibility, and genuine passion. The youth of our community looked up to him, and he was a galvanizing force in bringing hope and reinforcing inspiration and aspiration, asking them to push the envelope in whatever it is they do, and to ask those that came before them for support throughout their journey. Through all of this, and something that I only realize now, he made us all much prouder of our identity as Iranian Americans, as we found through purpose in all that we do. And our purpose was to help the youth lead better lives and to serve the communities that they live in. Thus, the unparalleled mark of our friend, Dr. Firooz Naderei, on the Iranian American community was teaching us, through his own actions, to think and care beyond ourselves. Those teachings go well beyond the service to the youth and have become a sought-after attribute for any Iranian American. So in essence, Dr. Naderei was a mentor of the entire community. So for all that he has been to our community, for all the pride he has instilled in us, and for all the empathy and caring that went with everything that he did, we are grateful to have been in his orbit for all these years, and profusely thank all of you, his friends and his co-workers, family, for sharing him with us throughout these years. And thank you all, everybody in this room and everybody on this campus, for all that you do to make our world a better place. You are all carrying forward the legacy and promise of one Dr. Firooz Naderei. Thank you.
I don't think we could agree more. I mean, we really do carry him in our hearts and minds. He was such a huge influence on who we are, and who he was will be part of us for decades to come. And so, thank you very much. I really appreciate that, Mr. Bassi. Okay, so quick little segue before we get to our next speaker. Another little video. So something you may not, JPLers may not know about. It turns out that some time ago, 2008, for his remarkable professional achievement and serving as a role model for success of the younger generation of Iranians, it turns out that Firooz was conferred by the former Queen of Iran the Cyrus of the Great Cylinder Award, Cyrus the Great Cylinder Award, created by sculptor Nasser Uvaisi for Firooz for his achievements. And so, and we have a little video of that very event. So let's take a look.
Your Majesty, Shahbanu, Prince Reza, Princess Yasemin, dear friends, and dear Rudy, thank you very much. You honor me tonight, but truly the honor is all yours for making such a difference in the life of so many. As the piece said, I have spent the past 10 years, I've been fortunate enough to work with the NASA colleagues to look for life outside of the Earth. But it is light like this, which I understand as noble as that pursuit is. It's even more noble to cultivate, to tend, to nurture the life on this planet. I want to tell you, if you indulge me for 1 minute, tell you a short story, should take a minute. I know a lady, a dear friend in Los Angeles, who wouldn't want me to mention her name, been battling cancer for the past 10 years. But rather than wallowing in self-pity, she decided that she wanted to help underprivileged people in south of Tehran. These are people in middle school who have a spectacular academic record, but cannot go to school because their parents cannot afford to send them to school. In some cases, they cannot afford to feed them. So gradually, she recruited some of us to sponsor a child. And now she has 200 kids. I have one, 12 years old. His name is Muhammad. So a couple of Nowruz ago, when my friend was going to Iran, I thought I would give something a little extra, so that he can have a new article of clothing, for Nowruz. And then he sent me a picture clutching a black shiny pair of shoes to his chest, as though it was more dear than life, to him. Sent me a note saying how he thinks that I am his role model. And thanked me for my generosity. Now, what he doesn't know is that I pray to God that I'm worthy of being his role model. So, thank you for all that you do. I don't know whether Muhammad will grow one day clutching the Nobel Prize rather than the pair of shoes that I helped him buy. But whether it is the Nobel Prize or he just grows to be a decent human being, I think that's more important to me than anything I do for NASA. Thank you very much.
Well, clearly, this is a man with deep humanity and humility. And these are the things that I admire deeply in Dr. Naderei. I'd love to introduce another friend of mine and a friend of Dr. Naderei, Dr. Sona Hosseini. She is a researcher at JPL, a scientist, astronomer, and an instrument designer, and a mentee of Dr. Naderei's. Sona, would you like to come up?
To Firouz's family, to Luri Lishan, Charles Alachi, to his JPL family. I have been blessed to have Firooz as my mentor, friend, and uncle figure long before I recognized the impact that his life embodied. When I first met Firooz as a grad student, I was scheduled for a 15-minute meeting. I had no idea what Forex meant, what the director for Forex meant, and why I'm meeting him. One of my mentors, Chris Webster, had made the appointment for me, and walking to his office, all he told me was, just be yourself. Growing up, I was privileged to have terrific role models and advisors, such as Yusuf Subhuti, a renowned cosmologist in Iran, and Charlie Towns, the inventor of lasers. But all my previous remarkable mentors had offices cluttered with scientific journals, indifferent to what they wore. So, meeting Firooz was a mental shock. I was confused. He had not discovered a new molecule or invented a groundbreaking technology, so why was I drawn to him? As it transpires, he was my grand opening to the world of envisioning, leading, and managing large complex projects, the lifeblood of modern scientific breakthroughs. Firooz had an incredible ability to see big pictures and how decisions are made. One of his coffee table books outside his office was Marketing the Moon, the selling of the Apollo lunar program. I used to make a point of arriving a couple minutes early so I could sneak in some reading time. Occasionally, I would see him discussing different mission concepts with other people. Forget about the moon. Watching Firooz was like witnessing marketing the universe in action, and in style. One morning, arriving at work, on my bike, I saw Firooz at the mall. Now, this was when the real space race was happening in the JPL parking lot. I said, wouldn't it be better if the JPL management installed safe bike lanes and bike repair stands instead of sending us all these emails about using alternative transportation methods? He asked, what's a bike repair stand? So there it was, bike repair 101 in 3 minutes. The same afternoon, I got an email from someone else telling me, Dr. Firooz Naderei asked me to follow up with you. Can you send us some information on a bike repair stand? After a couple emails and reaching out to JPL Bike Club for location recommendations, voila! The most sleek, stylish, and functional bike repair stands appeared in JPL. I have seen many use it. I have used it. And every time I pass by it, including today, it brings a smile to my face. He didn't ask me to create a 15-page PowerPoint slide, or ask me to have a follow-up meeting with him, or ask me to go see someone else, then who would send me to someone else. No problem was irrelevant for Firooz to solve. And when he set his sights on a task, he would find the most efficient way to accomplish it. After his retirement, in one of our meetings, I saw Firooz had printed and read all the formulas in my papers, a stack of my papers. He said, sit, let me describe your instrument to you. I shrugged my shoulders laughing. But it was amazing to see his profound curiosity and knowledge about different scientific sensors, and how all these scientific sensors are used to package a successful mission. I learned a lot from Firooz that day. What he did didn't change my trust and respect to him, but changed the nature of our conversations forever. From then on, I listened and talked to him without feeling the need to sell my ideas to him. Firooz moved through the world with unshakable calm, confidence, and tenacious style. He, as an immigrant, embodied so much that is best in America. But what stands out the most to me, it's not necessarily what he did, it's also what he didn't do. He never deceived me, or I never caught him doing so. He never burdened me with unnecessary tasks. He never exploited me for personal gain, or held a grudge when we disagreed. He never imposed his preferences on me. He never made a promise that he didn't fulfill. He never dwelled on the past. He rarely talked about the past, almost never. Made me mad. While he often had his mindset, he never denied me the opportunity to influence and change his mind. He never sugarcoated the truth, depriving me from knowing the truth. I'm pretty sure I may have wasted his time. He never wasted mine. Throughout the years, I discovered his exceptional standards were rooted in his profound respect for his own time, which made me only admire him more. Firooz made me a better architect of my goals and helped me to understand that I am worthy, that I had a choice, that my dreams and ideas had meaning. I respected him knowing he believed in me and that his trust would follow me for the rest of my life. So today, as I'm standing here, I know we will carry on and pass on lifting each other, advocating for the ones who are scared but continue daring mighty things, supporting each other to innovate with excitement and dignity, passing on the courage to create new paradigms, not go where the path leads us, but where we can leave a trail. That is what he would want. I know that is what we will do. Thank you.
Oh, that was inspiring. Thank you very much, Sona. The next we have a special announcement to make. It turns out that we're going to use this auspicious occasion to name something very important. So we have Dr. Leshin. Would you please come up and reveal the story?
Absolutely. So I said I would get back to you about following up on Firooz as a great mentor. And you've seen many examples already in folks who stood up today, and just in his own words about the importance of lifting others and lighting the way for them. And that really feels, as we think about a way to honor in perpetuity his legacy at WPI. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. It's like a year. That's bad. I'm human. What can you do? At JPL, it's usually when I'm naming things. It was as a college president, actually. That's why. But it's really exciting to get to reveal to you all today, if we could have the slide, the naderei mentoring program at JPL. This just feels so appropriate to me. It's something that was close to his heart. Our mentoring program, as many of you know, has been revamped and revitalized recently. And so the idea of, as we are relaunching this program, to do so in Firooz's memory just feels absolutely like the right way to honor him. And you can see we've got, as we do, great graphics based on the graphic of his asteroid, and apparently in his favorite color of purple. And so that's great as well. And we've also revamped the website, which I think we have a screenshot of on the next slide. So I just want to urge everybody to go check that out. Check out our updated mentoring website, which features information about Firooz and his legacy and his career. And also there's a training. You can see that button in the lower right that you can take and get involved for JPLers, both if you want to be mentored or you want to give your time as a mentor. I think, for all of us who want to just have a little bit of the Firooz magic, of the magic of giving back, being a mentor is a great way to do that. And so I urge you to sign up for and get involved in the naderei mentoring program at JPL. And I hope we'll also put a plaque, or we've been talking about a place to do that somewhere that can honor him, but this isn't a static thing. This is a dynamic way that we can all be involved in carrying forward something that we know was so important to Firooz, and knowing that future generations at the lab will know a little bit and understand a little bit about who he was and what he did here. To me, this makes me just incredibly happy to see. So I want to thank our colleagues who helped us design this and jumped right in and thought it was a great idea as a way to honor Firooz's legacy here at JPL. You can get to this website, by the way, by looking up mentoring on JPL Space, so it's quite easy to find. And it's exciting to be able to celebrate him in this way. So everybody go and sign up for the naderei mentoring program at JPL. And with that, I will hand it back to Rob to close us out. Thank you all.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out tonight, or today, and this afternoon, and all of you online also coming in to join us. And let me ask all of you, tonight when you go home, raise a glass to our friend, mentor, and leader, Dr. Firooz Naderei. Thanks for coming. And thank you. And a special thank you to the speakers today. It was really wonderful and touching, and we learned a lot. Thank you so much.